Plastered on the wall of D'Amato's Catskill gym and forever embedded in the minds of the fighters he trained, there is a poem posted at eye level, with text large enough for most to see even from a modest distance. Stationed between the two willy bags, D'Amato's own inventions, and a frequent space occupied by his fighters as they trained, above the poster on the wall, the words, "Don't quit," are crudely scribbled above, as if to demand attention and somehow reaffirm those who cross eyes with them, unavoidably and purposely. This placement is no doubt intentional, since Cuss had fighters spend hours on the willy bags, throwing combinations called out by tape recordings of his voice daily. As sweat and exhaustion inevitably built up in the routine, those words would hover in the periphery of their eyesight. Don't quit. A proclamation no doubt read in D'Amato's voice in the mind of the fighters between the words and numbers being called out by the great trainer in the recordings that played. A phrase demanding as much attention and importance as the words of Cuss himself. But these words and the poem that followed were not originally by Mr. D'Amato. Rather, it was crafted by an English poet and columnist born in 1881. Don't Quit. The poem Don't Quit was originally titled Keep Going and was published by Edgar A. Guest. Edgar Albert Guest, born August the 20th, 1881 in Birmingham, England, and died August the 5th, 1959 in Detroit, Michigan, was a prolific English-born American poet who was popular in the first half of the 20th century and became known as the people's poet. His poems often had an inspirational and optimistic view of everyday life. Of all the sayings, quotes, and lessons Cuss taught his fighters, these words are some of the few that were not crafted by D'Amato himself, only furthering and solidifying the importance he found in them and how they could affect the psychology and performance of his fighters. With the willy bags and the gym representing the physical side of training, the poem posted would be a great representation of the mental fortitude he sought to cultivate and build in his fighters as well. It remains in the minds of D'Amato's fighter today and also remains on the wall in some form in Catskill Gym as well. Though you may not have Cuss to train you or a gym in Catskill to train in, you can still use these words in your own life to help you whenever you are stuck with the seemingly impossible roadblocks that life and your mind will inevitably create. You just have to remember these words. Don't quit. When things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the debts are high, and you want to smile, but you have to sigh, when care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must, but don't you quit. Life is queer with its twists and turns, as every one of us sometimes learns, and many a failure turns about when he might have won had he stuck it out. Don't give up, though the pace seems slow. You might succeed with another blow. Often the goal is nearer than it seems to a faint and faltering man. Often the struggler has given up when he might have captured the victor's cup. And he learned too late when the night slipped down how close he was to the golden crown. Success is failure turned inside out, the silver tint of the clouds of doubt. And you never can tell how close you are. It may be near when it seems afar. So stick to the fight when you're hardest hit. It's when things seem worse that you mustn't quit.
Anything you want to add to that?
Don't ever quit. Thank you so much for listening to our introduction to Cuss D'Amato, the creator of Peekaboo Boxing, and also my trainer as a professional boxer. This series will try and cover the history and the style and give an in-depth analysis of the art in his system of boxing. please support us on Patreon. There will be a link to our page below.